Thank you.
Jackie, will you do me a favor?
Yes,
Will
sir.
you set this backpack right next to that outlet, so on top of the cord? Yep. I just don't want somebody tripping on that. That's perfect. That will keep everything. Hey, Tony. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Dawson.
Testing. 1, 2. Sound good? Testing. Testing.
Hi, Todd. Hello, how are you? What are you?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Meet the Candidate. My name is Jackie, and I'm with Partners in Education. You've also probably heard it called PIE. We're here tonight because we believe who's on the school board is very important to our children's education. And Partners in Education, that's our number one goal, is to make sure our students have the absolute best resources so they can have the best educational experience. We also believe in supporting our staff and our teachers by providing resources for them. And we do things like guest speakers for our high school. This year we supplied school supplies for all the elementary teachers in special education. So if you have not written down a question yet, we encourage you to do so that you can get to know these four wonderful candidates very well this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dustin Terry, and I'm serving as the moderator for tonight's forum. We have an election coming up a week from tonight, or today, Tuesday, November 4th, and we have 4 candidates running to fill 2 seats on the Earlham School Board. This forum is an opportunity for candidates to introduce themselves to voters and discuss issues important to our school district. This is a forum, not a debate, so the candidates will be responding to questions from me. Just to review the format so everybody's clear, each candidate will be given 3 minutes for an opening statement. I will then ask a series of questions to each of the candidates and allow for a 2-minute response. I have some prepared questions, and I invite members of the audience, as Jackie just did, to submit questions as well. My wife Connie is standing over to the side here. She's got pens and note cards. If you have a question you'd like to submit, please write it down and get it to Connie. Each candidate will be asked the same questions. The candidates will respond only to the questions and not ask questions of or respond directly to the other candidates. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for closing remarks at the end, and the order for responding to questions will rotate. I will introduce the candidates. So starting here on my left, we have Casey Henke, then Brandon DeGroff, Greg Opseth, and Nick Comas. We do have a timekeeper, Chelsea, sitting down in the front row. She'll signal to the candidates at 3 intervals, first at 30 seconds remaining, 10 seconds remaining, and then when time is up. We have this forum scheduled for 90 minutes, so please, as I indicated, submit your questions. I'll do my best to get to as many or all of the questions as we can tonight. And then Earlham PIE would invite everybody out to the commons area at the conclusion of the forum for a meet and greet with the candidates following the forum at around 7:30. So for those of you joining us online, we've got about 70 participants here in the auditorium. I want to thank you for taking the time for joining us tonight. So let's get right to the questions. In the first opening statement, we'll start with you, Casey. Please tell us about yourself, including any professional or family background you'd like to share. Be a member of the Earlham School Board.
I guess since I'm the first, I'm going to thank everyone for coming tonight, taking a little bit of time just to hear what we all have to say. My name is Casey Hinkie. I have been on the school board for the last 8 years. I guess I like to say I'm a born and raised Earlham Cardinal. I grew up here. I'm a third generation graduate of Earlham, and my 2 daughters are fourth generation. Earlham has always just been my home and been, where I belong, I guess. My wife and I, we own 2 small businesses here in Earlham. We try to support and be in our community as much as we can. I guess I just really want to keep serving the school board, just to continue what we've been doing. I guess, sorry, I'll go back to my education. I went through DMAC's culinary program before moving away for about 5 years, and then returned to Earlham, my wife and I, to raise our kids. And we just love the community and love being in Earlham, and I hope you all have a great night.
Ready?
Good evening. I'd like to start off by thanking Partners in Education for putting the event on. My name is Brandon DeGroff. My wife Katie and I have been proud members of the community for 8.5 years now. We have 3 children, the oldest of which graduated last spring, 1 in 8th grade and 1 in 3rd grade. My wife Katie is currently employed at the school as a para in the elementary. I operate a pipeline construction company called SCG. We're based out of Redfield. And we service natural gas pipelines and stations throughout the Midwest. My family and I relocated here from Utah, Nebraska in July of 2017, which is where I was born and raised. Katie grew up about 5 miles down the road in a different small town. Both were small agricultural-based communities, similar in size to Earlham's. Small town living was something we valued from our childhood and was a big factor in deciding to settle here in Earlham. My motivation for running for school board stems from a strong desire to serve the community. I believe my work experiences lend themselves to the duties of the board, and I am willing to volunteer my time for the betterment of the school district. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Greg Opseth, and I have lived in Earlham since November of 2021. My wife and I have 2 kids. Our daughter is in 5th grade and our son is in 1st grade. I grew up in southern Minnesota, just over the border of Iowa, right where Interstate 35 and 90 interchange, just 10 miles west of that. We were a small town of 600 people, and my graduating class was 34, so I'm very familiar with the small rural pre-K through 12 all-in-one building. And that's something that my wife and I were really looking for when we were looking for school. My wife graduated from Adair Casey, so that's what brought us to this area. I am a nurse by training, so I've been a nurse since 2012. I started my career in Pella, and then we moved to Guthrie Center, where I was the chief nursing officer for the hospital for almost 8 years. Had the opportunity to lead across all of the nursing disciplines and really establish what governance and operation roles are, and that really was a foundational reason why I'd like to be on the Earlham School Board. Currently in my professional role, I am the Chief Operating Officer for Highland Medical Staffing. So that's located in Jefferson, and we support critical access hospitals with their staffing needs for nursing, for ancillary staff. So any staffing needs they have, we try to support them. I know what it's like to live in the rural setting, and really am hoping to be a catalyst for that here in Earlham. Currently serve as the president of the Iowa Nurses Association. I've been the president of the Iowa Organization for Nursing Leadership, and also have the privilege to sit on the board of directors for the school where I went to nursing school in Omaha at Nebraska Methodist College. Sat on that board from 2017 to 2023, and really had the opportunity to see that difference in operations and governance, and seeing how important it is for each role to work in alignment to accomplish the strategic plan and initiatives. So I'm really excited for this opportunity and appreciate you being here tonight.
Good evening, I'm Nick Gomez. I grew up in Grimes area, graduated from Dallas Center Grimes in 2003, back when Dallas Center Grimes was much, much smaller than it is now. Not quite a small girl, but my wife is from the Earlham area and is an Earlham graduate, and we have 2 children in the Earlham School District, fourth grade and freshman. I also have a small business in town that I've served many people in this town and the surrounding communities. I'm in construction by trade. I'm a general superintendent for a custom home builder in the Des Moines area. I've been involved with youth sports ever since my kids have been involved. Been involved in coaching, helping all kids across the board, and I currently serve as president for our Earlham Quarterback Club, which supports the football program all the way from youth all the way to high school. And what motivates me to be part of the school board is I believe you should be involved if you'd like to make a difference. And that's all I have to say for my open statements. Thank you.
Thank you. First question, we'll now move into the question round. Looking for 2-minute responses from each of the candidates. We'll start with Brandon on this one. What do you consider to be the role of public education?
To me, the role of public education is to provide a cost-free, quality education for students K through 12. I firmly believe preparing students to be contributing members of society and the workforce should be at the forefront of this. Whether a student chooses to join the armed forces, continue their education beyond high school, or immediately join the workforce, public education has a responsibility to ensure that they have done everything within their power and budget to prepare said student academically, socially, physically, and economically so that they may engage productively in our communities. Public education also plays a vital role in democracy by creating an educated community of citizens that engage in elections, governance, and community service.
We'll just work down the table, right?
The role of public education to me consists of 8 domains. The first one is equal opportunity and access. So all students, regardless of background, regardless of socioeconomic status, whatever it is, regardless, that we all have equal access to the education here at the public school. Academic foundation is the next one. Strong literacy, math, science, and critical thinking. That comes from a relationship with the students, the staff and faculty, and the families, and that's where partnership and accountability come in. The partnership is that shared responsibility with the families and educators, as well as the community. And then the accountability comes from the school board to ensure that the resources are used appropriately. Another domain is life and career readiness, that we're affording our students the opportunity, if they so choose, to enter the workforce immediately following school, or they enter into a trade, or continuing their education in the post-secondary area. We have to ensure that we're allowing for that whole child focus, which is the next domain, that we're focusing on the entire child from an emotional, social, and mental well-being perspective, that we're encouraging extracurricular activity involvement, as well as involvement in the fine arts, so they can get that entire experience. The next domain is citizenship and community. We want them to be civically engaged and responsible community citizens. And finally, we need to foster a safe and supportive environment. So that means that every student is valued, every student is safe, and every student knows they belong.
What I consider a role of public education is best preparing mine and everyone else's children in the community for how they move through life socially, knowing right from wrong, being able to make decisions on their own, and then what role they will play in the real world when they're done with high school, whether that is trade, military, college, or maybe even coming back to be a teacher or even a school board member.
I think the role of public education is obviously to provide a free and safe place where kids can go and learn. I feel like school creates, it's part of it creates everything as you're growing up. Your values, your sense of community, your friendships. But providing a solid education, I feel like, is the number one thing that a school should provide, and it needs, to set you up for whatever you want to do after school. I feel like our school does a really good job of meeting kids wherever they're at. I have a kid that's on an IEP, and I know that they work so good with every kid. I also think they have to discover their passions. It's to help set them up for life, to figure out really what they want to do, what they love, not just for a job, but also just extracurricular stuff. But it should be home to them, for 18, no, not 18 years, but for a big part of their life. And when they graduate, they need to be ready to pursue whatever goal they have.
Next question goes to Greg first. In your own terms, what is the role of the school board? What is the role of the school superintendent? And what is the role of building principals?
Comes to my mind when I think about the school board is the governance concept that I mentioned earlier, and that's about setting strategic direction. That is what the school board does, and that doesn't mean independently the school board makes that strategic direction. They seek input from all stakeholders, and that goes all the way from teachers, administrators, faculty, as well as students and community members. Without that input, they cannot effectively create that strategic direction for the district. The superintendent, in alignment with the school board, it has the daily oversight of that strategy and what the board has charged the district to accomplish. They have to have close alignment with the board as well as the principals in order to execute that strategy on a daily basis. And then the principals are that day-to-day, boots on the ground representation in the buildings. The principals also have to have alignment with the board and superintendent. And that's the key to the role of all three of these within this question is alignment. And that starts at the school board, down to the superintendent, to the building and principals, and into the faculty and staff. They all have to be in alignment with their strategic initiatives, and thus also disseminating that alignment and strategic goals to the community.
Okay, I believe that the role of the school board is to represent parents of the children. I think that we should be up here representing all of you the way I would want my children and your children to be educated and treated in school, and wanting the best for them going forward, and how to be able to push them and challenge them so that they figure out how to learn to the best of their ability. As far as the superintendent, I believe it is his role, or he or she, role to bring policies to the board that would best educate everyone in the community about what needs to happen and what problems and issues that we need to work through as a board, which the board should advise with the community to go forward. And the building principals are taking all that information and implementing it with the teachers and the staff of the school, and making sure that that stuff is all in alignment and all with what everybody in this community agrees with.
I think the school board, the role is to set policies which, are essentially the rules that the school, that everyone is following, working off of, to approve the budget, which is very important, as hiring and evaluating the superintendent. And and just developing a strong relationship with all of the administrators and teachers, and then communicate to the public and listen to, parents, any community members that have questions, issues, and answer them to the best of our ability. As far as superintendent, they really are the CEO of our school. I mean, they are overseeing all the day-to-day operations. The superintendent makes recommendations to the school board, and that's where a lot of trust has to be, because, we're not all, as school board members, we're not professionals in every way that a teacher, all of our administrators are. So the trust has to be there to, understand what they need and are recommending as far as hires, as far as different policies. And then really they're the face of the district. They lead us in long-term planning and really are the action takers in that plan. And then principals, they really oversee the entire school. They lead our academic direction, and as far as goals, curriculum, hiring staff, evaluating teachers, and just making sure our student achievement is being met.
Personally, I don't believe the roles of the school board, superintendent, and principals is a question of opinion, as their roles are spelled out in the ECSD policies. However, I will paraphrase from these policies. School board is authorized to govern the school district to which it oversees. As the governing body, the school board has 3 duties to perform. Legislative duty. As a representative of the citizens, the school board is responsible for legislating policy for the district. As a policy-making body, the school board has jurisdiction to enact policy with the force of law for the management and operation of the school district. Executive duties, selecting the chief executive officer or the superintendent. To operate the school district on the board's behalf, the board delegates to the superintendent its authority to carry out board operation of the school district. Evaluative duty. The board is responsible for reviewing the education program's performance. The board regularly reviews the education program and ancillary services. This review includes a careful study and examination of facts, conditions, and circumstances surrounding the amount of funds received or expended and the education program's ability to achieve the school board's educational philosophy and goals for the school district. The superintendent and principals are defined as administrators in the ECSD policies. It is the responsibility of the administrators to implement and enforce the policies of the school board, to oversee employees, to monitor educational issues confronting the district, and to inform the school board about school district operations. While the school board holds the superintendent ultimately responsible for these duties, the principals are more directly responsible for educational results, for the administration of the school facilities, and for the district employees.
Next question goes to Nick. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing our school in the next 3 years?
The biggest challenge that faces our school, I believe right now, is how we maintain or grow a budget and still maintain this small town feel, this small town in its size. And we're kind of out here on our own, but we are self-supporting. And I believe there's some parts in the budget that are very complicated that needs to help us support that. And I think everybody in this town would like to keep Irwin this way. Not exactly grow into Waukee or Van Meter, something like that, but keep this a very small town and smaller class sizes, but not overwhelming to the teachers. So I think that is, that's alarming for me.
I think one of our biggest challenges in the next 3 years is actually our school population. We saw a slight decline this year in students. We had an increase in in school district students. But you always have to be ready to deal with whatever changes there are. And year to year, the fluctuation of students can change. We just graduated a large class. The class coming in is a little smaller, so obviously small decline. I really think in that circumstance, we need to monitor our budget really carefully, keep it tight. We want to keep the best teachers here, so that's the number one goal. But at the same time, we still have to make improvements. We have to make our school better. I mean, that's really, I feel like, our job as a school board is to keep driving improvements, and it's not just facilities, it's class sizes. If we can keep them small, work within our school. I agree that our school should be under one roof. I really love that aspect of Earlham. It's really what makes a small school what it is. So I just think that overall, if we're smart with our budget and make good decisions, everything will be good.
Yeah, employee turnover, number one, in my opinion. I'm sure I speak for everyone in the community when I say I want the best educated, most qualified teachers that are available to guide our students every day. The problem is, how do we get them here, and more importantly, how do we keep them here? It's no secret we have a little bit of a housing shortage for newcomers to town. Couple that with facilities, new facilities, and extremely competitive pay in neighboring school districts closer to the metro, we begin to look like a hard sell to the good educators.
So when I think about the biggest challenges for Earlham in the next 3 years, this comes from a direct observation with my involvement in the Watchdogs program. That's the dads of grade students who come in. I come in once a month and have for the last, this is my 5th school year. And so when I saw this question, my immediate reaction was physical space and facilities, as well as technology. I see on a monthly basis in the classroom how much the teachers rely on technology, and that doesn't mean that the technology is teaching the students, it's a tool that they're using to teach the students. And we all know that technology advances at a rapid pace, and much like I experienced in the healthcare setting, as soon as you get the new technology, there's something newer, and you have to find out or figure out how you're going to adapt to that. When it comes to physical space and facilities, both of my kids are in elementary sections or elementary grades that have 3 sections in them. And so it's like a puzzle, knowing which classroom they're going to go to, which teacher is going to flow through with their grade. And it's a constant struggle for them, but the school always ends up having what they need. I just really see physical space and facilities being a massive issue for the school.
All right, next question. I'm going to skip down to, are you satisfied, and this one goes to Casey first. Are you satisfied with current test scores for Earlham students? If so, what can the school board do to maintain student achievement? Or if not, what can be done to improve student achievement?
Test scores can always be improved, obviously. Education is always free-flowing, and kids should always be improving and learning. I really feel that, when we look at the numbers that and the data that we have over the past 3 years, we've seen steady improvement in across a lot of the grade levels, and also subject areas, so the key subject areas. I feel like our teachers that help with training, they do a good job, and we've got to keep improving test scores, but overall they're on the right track.
Yeah, current test scores Earlham are at or above average in the state, and that's a credit to the administrators and staff. We saw a decline, obviously, coming out of COVID and during. However, we are currently seeing state progress, and that's something we can all be proud of. We must, however, continue to set goals and commit to high expectations for student achievement. We have to continually monitor data, and we must use said data to drive improvement.
So I've had the opportunity to sit on the School Improvement Advisory Committee, also known as SIAC, and we actually were presented with the data in order to help the school administrators and the school board develop something called the profile of a student learner. And so when I think about the test scores and specifically look at that elementary, middle school, and high school are all at or above average, that is a testament to the education. But what I think of is we can be proud of where we are while we're still trying to achieve more. I look at this from comparing it to what I would look at in the hospital setting to patient satisfaction scores. They're very different, but they're data driven, and you look at them, you have to look at them contextually. What do the numbers tell us? We can't look at the numbers alone. We have to look at the full story, and that's where the instructional coaches come in and understanding what are the teachers telling them, what's going on in the classroom. If our numbers are lower in some grades, that means the N is lower, and therefore some lower test scores can pull those scores down. So those are some of the things we have to look at, is how, wherever we're at on the spectrum, we have to know what's the full story, and can't just take the data for where it's at.
As far as test scores, I believe test scores should always improve. I think that's a moving ball. If we're always catching up and the kids are at 100%, we're not challenging them enough. And challenging the children is what they need to improve and move along in life properly. And if staying engaged and knowing what they are learning and why